And we are live, at least that's what we're told here. So good evening, good afternoon, good morning. And here we are.
Here we are. Hi, Noah.
This is humanity's team. This is the world. This is God. And I'm Noah here with you. And we have Karen Gordon sharing this space.
Hi.
Let's just said hello. And I'd like to just start our time together. This is what we call an Accelebration call because we are accelerating our celebration. We're accelerating our evolution, our consciousness, just by being here together, whatever time it may be, because it is now. Whatever time that now is experienced, it is now. So I'd like to just open this space with a short prayer in the Hebrew language that, of course, I'll translate. It'll be a rough translation, but the prayer, one prayer. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotayu. And so this roughly translated is, blessed are you, Yahweh, our God, King, ruler, president of the eternal infinite universe, who has enjoined us, who has made us holy through her enjoinments, through your commandments, through your merging with ourself. So this call, we will continue our opening inspiration with another reading from the book of Acts, or at least a story that can be traced back to the book of Acts, and then we'll bring in a couple of lines from it. But I would like to share this story because it wants to be shared here. And essentially, it begins with Peter. And by the way, Peter comes from Petros, which means rock in Greek, and hence Peter was Simon, but he was called Peter because Petros means, or Kephas means rock, and it is upon this rock that I build my church. So Peter was out one day in the housetop, went out to pray, and he became hungry. He was praying and meditating, and he became hungry, and he fell into this meditative trance. And he saw a vision in this trance. The sky opened up, and a sheet was lowered onto the earth. Four corners of the sheet, the four corners of the earth, were lowered, and on top of this sheet were all sorts of animals and creatures. Now, it is certainly worth noting that in Hebrew culture at this time, particularly, this notion of clean and unclean food is fully relevant. So there were certain animals that were known as being clean. People may be familiar with this today as kosher, and others that were unclean to eat. And so in this vision, there were a bunch of what Peter would have labeled as unclean animals. And the voice of God said to him, Peter, eat. And Peter's response initially was, I would never do such a thing. I've never eaten an unclean animal. And so the voice that replied was, what God has cleansed, no longer consider unholy. And this sort of voice came to him one more time. Now, after this, the sheet was lifted up and he was brought out of this trance. And at this time, he was told to go downstairs. The voice, this intuition told him, go downstairs. There are people waiting for you. So he went downstairs. He was on the rooftop. That's kind of the balcony, so to speak. Came in from the balcony, and there were people waiting for him, what he would call Gentiles or non-Jews. And they asked him, and he already knew what was going to happen, but they asked him to come back to their master. They served a centurion, a highly ranked official, Gentile, non-Jew, who sent for Peter. And so Peter, it's also worth noting that at this time, Jews, it was frowned upon to, or actually forbidden to associate with non-Jews, with Gentiles, particularly to go into their households, to go into a different land and go in, because the Jews just had this understanding that the Jews were the chosen people of God, and you should stick to the people who are chosen of God. But Peter had just been told, what God has cleansed, no longer consider unholy. And so this is just a direct communication to him to maybe put aside these preconceptions about what is holy and what is not. So he agreed to follow these people, to go to the centurion's house and go inside. And what ended up happening is he ended up speaking the wisdom, speaking what is called the Holy Spirit, came through and came upon all of the people who were listening in this household. And Peter said that, so first of all, Peter says, I most certainly understand now that God is not one to show partiality. And this is the theme that that wants to be expanded upon today. And it's a theme that also comes through in A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles calls this, or brings this concept forth by talking about what it calls holy relationships and special relationships. Essentially, what we are enjoined to do, how we are made holy through this enjoinment, is to see our relationship with whomever it may be, whatever it may be, to understand that this relationship, whatever it is the single relationship. That is, it is our relationship with God, and so thus it is holy, not in terms of levels or amounts, but fully holy, that our relationship with the person walking past us on the street, our relationship with our mother, the bag of coffee grounds on the table or in the trash can, is all the same relationship, and that it's fully holy. What God has made holy, which is everything that is here, we need not consider unclean. We need not consider it unholy. And so what we're called to do is to be aware of this holiness in every relationship, to make it the one relationship, because the only alternative is a special relationship. And if we have special relationships, meaning some things or some people are more important than others, then we've lost sight of the relationship, which is our relationship with God. So at this point, I know Karen has some lovely thoughts about special relationship, holy relationship, perhaps to give another take on this whole concept.
Well, I am a student of A Course in Miracles as well, student teacher, as everyone is a student and a teacher. Yeah, those who know me in that realm of things know that I am fond of this whole subject about special relationships and holy relationship. And the thing that I've come to know is that indeed all relationships with one another, with all of life, sentient, non-sentient, which we can see, that which we cannot see, is holy. However, with our minds, with our thinking, with our judgments, with our exclusions, we can seemingly make a relationship unholy. But it never is. The truth of the matter is that every relationship always is a holy relationship. It's one relationship. I like to use capital letters. Capital R relationship is the one relationship that all of life is participating in. I say life to mean all of all. And again, the only way it becomes or seems to become any less than that is through our own thinking, judgments, analysis, that there is something less than holy about the relationship that we're in, or in viewing somebody else's relationship and judging, deeming that to be unholy. I love the subject so much.
Yes, we do, because it's fully important. And again, as Karen is saying, it's just what is true. It's just what is true. And so it's not that we're changing anything as much as just understanding what's already here. We can deceive ourselves otherwise. We have this option. Essentially, we have the ability to believe that we cannot believe anything, but it's just a contradiction of symbols. It doesn't have any truth. So our relationship with God is here in everything that we see and in every person with whom we encounter. And so if something comes our way, if somebody comes our way, we're just called to be fully present and to listen and to speak in this communication that it was with a capital C. Because it need not be, this typical, I'd say, perhaps misunderstanding or misconception about these biblical moments when God calls out to Abraham and says to pick up and leave your home city and go to a new land that you've never seen, even though you're 70 years old or 72, to just pick up and leave everything. It's presented in a way where it's seen like it's almost inaccessible, where God is booming from the skies and saying, Abraham, do this. But almost certainly, Abraham just felt into this calling. God is telling me to do this, so I have to do this. And so God told him to do it. It may not be a voice that's speaking to us in English from the sky, but it's in everything that we see. And it's in every person with whom we speak and listen to. And it's in every step that we take and everything that we touch. This is God telling us to do whatever it is that we're told to do. This is our relationship. This is what God has cleansed. And so this is our relationship. And the more that we can put everything on equal ground, where we can tell everybody, I love you. We can tell everything that this is perfect. Every circumstance is perfect. The more we're tapping into, as what Karen has said, is already here. We're not changing anything. We're not as much as allowing ourselves to see the reality of what is here, what has always been here, and what always will be here.
Yeah, and if we determine any relationship with anything or any situation even as not holy, as we're speaking about that today, I believe that it's the rare individual who doesn't feel that within themselves, some degree of discomfort. There may be a few people who thrive on that kind of, I would call it maybe hostility or exclusiveness. But I think for most of us, if we're in a situation or we're with a person, any kind of relationship, and we're deeming it to be uncomfortable or off or wrong or unholy, we know it. We have a gut feeling. There's a signal there for us. So the more that we can spend time in our own spiritual practice, whatever that might be, walking, sitting, sleeping, resting, reading, the easier it is to hear, easier it is to hear whispers, the easier it is to feel when something's off. And Esther Hicks, Jerry Hicks, Abraham Hicks, that whole body of literature, they say, if it feels off, it's off. So if you feel some degree of discomfort in a relationship with a person or a situation, then it's off. And what's really cool is that we have the power, we have the control to change it, because it's just our thinking that's making it feel off. That's all it is. It's just something we're thinking about it.
Yes, it is. And thank you, Karen. I just like to walk in this whole concept of relationship is fully empowering, because, you know, the concept of, you know, seeing through somebody else's eyes or walking in somebody else's shoes is a common one. And it can be a bit inaccessible to try and be in somebody else's node of existence. But what if we don't even need to do this? Because what's connecting us is our relationship. So maybe I don't have to tap into somebody else's perspective as much as feel into the relationship that is connected to me right here. I'm connected with the relationship with my mother. And so I can feel into the relationship to feel what the state of the relationship is, which is the only thing that's real between us. So we don't have to imagine in order to get a sense for the glue that's between us, between all of us, anything, the coffee, as much as just feel into the relationship that is here. And so
yeah, we can do that in the moment. You know, we can do that in the presence of someone or something, and we can do it when we're not in the physical presence. Like right now, you know what I'm doing? I'm feeling into the relationship with Garth, who's here with us behind the scenes.
yes, we are. And I wish we could share the avatar image of Garth is in a beautiful rocking chair on what looks to be a glorious summer's day in Oregon.
Yeah.
So clearly all of this relationship, you know, it's typically, you know, the fullest relationship is one we can say of love. And just as God can sometimes carry unwarranted baggage as a word, so too can love in many ways. Love all too often can be exclusive, limited to particular people or circumstances, or even particular actions that particular people do, you know. And so all of those things are exclusive love. It's not the capital L love. That is the love that we can have for every single person and every single thing, because it's here, and it's because God has willed it to be here. And so it is love. It is love. And just a sneak preview. I know most of us here are familiar with Neil Donald Walsh, and he just published a book recently about this whole concept of essentially thinking about God as the feeling of love, the unconditional love for all that is. And he will likely be coming on here soon to do a massive multi-hour program live with all of us. So stay tuned on this. Now, just to share how Humanities Team is beyond this. I know we all love to be here and to share this inspiration on these calls. I love this. And I'm fairly certain, I know Karen does too, and Garth does too, to be here. And everyone that is here, just not on this call or not on the screen, on Humanities Team and the organization, and spectators or participants, love this. But this is like, this is one Accelebration. Now, what about the times between the Accelebration? Humanity's team is offering many things. One of which is this community on which this is aired, this Humanities team. Another is this catalog of content. Now, I would just like to illustrate how simple this is. Let's say we're on this relationship, love. I want to see what catalog says about love. And so we can search here using Karen's favorite tool, love. These are the master classes that talk about love. Of course, there's a bunch of videos that talk about love. And so I can click on a module, and this is a module for a master class featuring Michael, that I can just come here and watch. And so,
dynamic, radical blessings to you.
Yes. So if we want to hear Michael B's take on love, we have it, and we have it. So we have it on demand for us in a way to embody as a practice throughout all the week, throughout all the month, so that these moments of inspiration are not the exception as much as just a continuation of just life in general and living here in this world.
I like to think about what's over there on stream as you just get to hang out with these people, and have these beautiful inspirational moments with them, while you're driving or sitting at home or walking. It's just so great.
And again, look, of course, I think we would all enjoy if more people decided to join Humanity's stream, because there's a power to it. There's a power to all of the content that's here, and we're adding apps to this so that you can take it in the car, you can watch it on your TV, you can watch it on your phone. And so this is the spiritual oasis. This is the toolkit. This is the toolbox where you can see, and you're plus, I just need, if you're feeling, I would like to hear some psychology today. So I'm going to go to Healing the Past because this has Joan Borisenko, positive psychology. Let's see it. Give it to me, Joan. I have a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive. And so I'm going to let Joan guide me on this drive rather than whatever else I tend to do.
And so I want to start.
Joan, I just love that search tool over there. It's really pretty fantastic.
I know you do.
I do.
Well, let's just use it one more time. I know we have this is a half-hour call, but search is so powerful here. Tell me something, Karen. What should we search?
Oh, let's search for power.
Power. Okay. By the way, power. Stay tuned because we have a whole thing on power coming up. How the power of love makes the impossible possible. Now, again, this whole catalog contains master classes. It also contains these Global Oneness Summits. So this is a 30-minute call. And we'll see what it is. It's actually a great one. Very straight. This is actually awesome. This is such a powerful call. Okay.
Nice music too.
It is. So Garth, we're looking at you.
And we become different human beings.
Deborah Pondman.
The problem is that sometimes we know that we're love, yet we don't act that way on the outside. We get angry, we have jealousy, we don't wish each other well, we tear down each other. What is it that we can do so that we don't exhibit those behaviors in our lives and we can be love?
All the negative emotions are also because of love. You love objects too much, more than human being, that's called greed. You love yourself too much, that is pride. You love only some parts of body or some that is lust. And you your love can get distorted and become jealousy. Your love becomes distorted and that becomes hatred. So, what is that we can do to keep love in its pristine purity? That is wisdom. That's what I call wisdom. When there is wisdom and knowledge in one's life, when that is integrated with our life, then love doesn't get distorted. It remains pure. No one can get angry if they have no love. See, you love somebody and they do something wrong, and so you get angry. So the cause for anger is also love. So I would say love is the mother of most of our emotions.
Well, I find that interesting
Yes,
because
I'm so glad that this came up, because this is one of my favorite clips from Suri Suri. How that makes it so obvious and so clear about even anger. It's often, there's many things that are thought to be the opposite of love, such as hatred. And he's saying, you get angry at somebody, which is but you love them so much, and so then you get angry at them. So it's the root of it is love. You hate something over there because you love something. So love really is the root of this, just as we were talking about relationally earlier on. All of this relationship is with God.
It's just concept. So nice to be able to take that which we think is a negative emotion and realize that, oh, there's a foundation of love here, so that we can bring love into our internal conversation. Always. Now, as much as we can remember to do so.
And here's the key here. The key. There's one key. This is humanity's team. The simplicity of humanity's team is that we're founded on the rock. We're talking about Peter, the Petrus, the Cephas. The rock is oneness. So there's one key to this all. And it can be simple. In fact, it is simple. It's fully simple. It's here. It's already here. And so what we're tasked with doing, what we're called to do, to share, is this understanding that there's no difference between my spiritual practice and just my everyday activities. There's no difference between my dream states and my awakened states. There's no difference between my mother and the man sitting on the sidewalk. There's no difference between the bag of chips and my thought about the refrigerator. All of these are part of the same concept. My spiritual practice is what this is. Every time that I can say this, it is true, whether I'm in the restaurant, in the car, or meditating on a pillow. So this is my meditative practice. This is my life. This is God. This right here is God. This is perfection. With all that's going on around, perfection isn't a state to attain, but a process that unfolds. And so this thing that's unfolding, this universe, this world, is perfection. And everything that unfolds in it is perfection. And so this is what we're enjoined to share, is that these spiritual practices, that these thoughts that we can share, these videos that we can share, these interviews, this community that we can share, we share it because it helps us to stay in the space of continuous oneness, continual love, and always knowing that this is God and this is perfect. Because when we understand it, and when we start from this point, because all thought and all action starts from a point, when we start from the understanding that this is perfect and this is God, We're just allowing it to be, and we're sharing it with all around us, all in our mind, all in our physicality. And so we're honored at Humanity's Team to share these tools that can help us. But again, it's already here. So I know I think we're even over the half hour now. So Karen, any closing thoughts for us? Any closing whispers or sounds of spirit?
Sure. Just as Ravi Shankar just shared with us, with a chuckle, mother, or love rather, is the mother of all emotion. You know, we can think about love being the mother and the father of all, every little bit of it. It's not a difficult thing to bring love into the internal and external conversation. And it certainly does create a beautiful world.
Yes, it is. And we even have Garth out that is going to at least wave to us. You have to say something so you're on screen, Garth.
Okay, I will say, I love you guys. You have such great wisdom, such great energy. And I appreciated being mentioned and included in some small way here. And
we're happy to see you here with us all, Garth.
Thank you for joining.
Oh,
yeah,
my pleasure to be in the background and a fly on the wall.
Well, just remember, all that you're saying is a mirror image of what's within you.
Indeed.
So we are, yes, I am, Garth, honored to be a fly on the wall to observe Garth.
Thank you to those who have joined us and watching on Facebook and humanities.team and wherever you may be. Hope to see you next week.
We'll see you here now.
Okay.
God bless.
Okay.
Love
Bye.
you all.